Chapter 5. History's Biggest Fraud. For millions of years, humans lived as hunter-gatherers, moving through forests, plains, and coasts, gathering fruits, nuts, and edible plants while hunting wild animals. They had varied diets, spent only a few hours a day searching for food, and lived in small, close-knit groups. Their mobility protected them from diseases, and their lifestyle allowed them to avoid the dangers of overpopulation and food shortages. But around 10,000 years ago, something changed. Humans began planting wheat, barley, rice, and other crops, marking the beginning of agriculture. It seemed like a great step forward, a revolution that allowed people to settle in one place, build villages, and ensure a steady food supply. But in reality, this shift led to a series of problems that reshaped human life in ways no one could have predicted. Farming required people to stay in one location and work the land tirelessly. Unlike foragers, who moved on when food became scarce, farmers had to protect their fields from pests, droughts, and floods. They spent long hours planting, weeding, and harvesting, often working harder than their ancestors ever did. Their diet became less diverse, relying on a few staple crops instead of the wide variety of foods foragers once enjoyed. Malnutrition, disease, and physical strain became common. Yet, people kept farming because it allowed their populations to grow. More food meant more children, and more children meant more workers to tend the fields. As food production increased, so did competition for land and resources. People built permanent settlements, leading to the formation of villages, towns, and eventually cities. But with these larger populations came inequality. In hunter-gatherer societies, everyone contributed to the group's survival, and wealth was difficult to accumulate because there were no permanent homes or storage systems. With farming, landowners and rulers emerged, controlling surplus food and distributing it as they saw fit. Some became powerful, while others struggled to survive, creating social hierarchies that had never existed before. The dependence on crops also meant vulnerability. If a wheat field was destroyed by pests or a drought, an entire community could face starvation. Unlike foragers, who could move to new areas and find food elsewhere, farmers were trapped in their settlements, forced to endure famine or fight neighboring villages for resources. Wars over land became common, and the need to protect fields and grain stores led to the rise of organized armies and complex political systems. Farming also changed the relationship between humans and animals. In earlier times, humans hunted wild animals when necessary, but with agriculture, they began domesticating them for labor and food. Cows, sheep, and chickens were bred in large numbers, leading to the rise of livestock farming. This not only increased the spread of diseases but also placed additional demands on the environment, as forests were cleared to create grazing lands. The balance that had existed between humans and nature for thousands of years was disrupted. Despite these difficulties, farming continued to spread. Once a society became dependent on agriculture, it was almost impossible to return to a hunter-gatherer lifestyle. Villages turned into towns, towns turned into cities, and civilizations flourished. Writing, mathematics, and organized religions developed as a way to manage large populations and maintain order. The belief that farming was necessary for human progress became deeply ingrained, even though it created new forms of suffering. The agricultural revolution was not planned. No one set out to domesticate wheat and settle in villages. Instead, small changes over time led humans down an irreversible path. Wheat did not serve humans. Instead, humans ended up serving wheat, devoting their lives to its growth and survival. What had started as a way to secure food eventually led to larger populations, social divisions, wars, and environmental destruction. Humans did not choose this path with full awareness of where it would lead. They simply adapted to each new challenge, unaware that they were building a world far more complicated and difficult than the one they had left behind.